The morning sunlight spilled through the tall glass windows of my office, glinting off the gold edge of the frame that held my company's logo, Walker and Ray Holdings. It still amazes me sometimes how quiet success can be. I sat behind the mahogany desk, fingers tracing the rim of my coffee mug, the scent of dark roast lingering like memory. My assistant had just stepped out, leaving me alone with the soft hum of the city below and a single buzzing notification lighting up my phone. Reminder. While reading, 2 p.m. For a second, the air in the room shifted, heavy, like old ghosts waking up. My father's voice echoed in my mind, sharp and amused. Everything in the will goes to your siblings, Lena. Go earn for yourself. That smirk of his, I can still see it. That half smile that said you'll never make it. I leaned back in my chair, watching the skyline of New York stretch endlessly before me. To the world, I was the woman who built an empire from nothing. But deep inside, there was still that 20-year-old girl who walked out of her father's mansion with trembling hands and no plan except survival. My phone buzzed again. A message from the family attorney. They've all confirmed attendance. Will you be joining, Ms. Walker? I smiled faintly. Oh, I'll be there, I whispered. Front row. I was 21 when the house that once felt like a home turned into a courtroom. The marble floor gleamed under the chandelier, but my stomach was in knots. My father sat behind his oak desk, stern, powerful, untouchable, while my stepmother, Claire, stood beside him, arms folded like she'd already won. My half-brothers, Ethan and Mark, smirked quietly behind her. I stood alone, my fingers brushing the small silver locket my grandmother had given me before she passed. Inside, a tiny note, "Your worth isn't in their approval." I didn't know then how much those words would save me. Dad cleared his throat, looking down at the papers the attorney had just placed before him. Everything in the will, he began, will go to Ethan and Mark. They've proven themselves ready to carry the Walker legacy. I swallowed hard. What about me? He didn't even look up. You've always been sentimental. You write, paint, dream, but this world needs results, not feelings. Go earn for yourself, Lena. The words sliced through me sharper than glass. Claire's lips twitched, that smug, satisfied little curve. It's for the best, dear, she said softly, pretending to sound kind. Women like you aren't meant for boardrooms. My chest tightened. I could feel my heart pounding so loud I was sure they heard it too. I wanted to scream, to throw those papers across the room, but instead I nodded. Quietly, calmly. I took one last look at my father, the man I used to believe in, and whispered, "You'll see, Dad. One day, you'll see what I'm capable of." That night, I packed everything I owned into a single duffel bag. My hands trembled as I slipped my grandmother's locket around my neck and stepped out into the cold rain. I didn't have a plan. I didn't have money. All I had was her voice in my head. Your worth isn't in their approval. And for the first time in my life, I believed it. I left New York that night with nothing but a duffel bag and the quiet determination that had been brewing inside me since that cruel smirk. The city streets blurred into highways, and I ended up in a small apartment that smelled faintly of mildew and ambition. The first few months were brutal. I worked 2 jobs just to pay rent, bartending until my feet ached, tutoring teenagers in the mornings while nursing a coffee that never seemed strong enough. At night, I studied online business courses, scribbled ideas into worn notebooks, and rehearsed speeches I would someday give to rooms bigger than my father's study. Then one rainy evening, I met Monica Ray. She was in her 60s, sharp as a tack, with silver hair pulled back in a bun and eyes that seemed to look right through me. She ran a small consulting firm and noticed me struggling at a networking event. "You have fire, Lena. But fire needs direction," she said, handing me her card. "Come by my office tomorrow. If you're serious, I'll show you how to survive and thrive." I went, and she kept her word. Under Monica's guidance, I learned everything I hadn't been taught at home: contracts, negotiation, branding, and, most importantly, believing in myself. I made mistakes, of course. Missed deadlines. Lost clients. Felt the sting of rejection over and over. But with every small win, The fear that had lived in my chest since that reading began to shrink. My first profitable sale, a modest contract for a local supplier, felt like winning a war. My first major client, a boutique chain, felt like stepping onto the battlefield fully armed. Slowly, carefully, I built Lena Walker Enterprises from nothing. I kept my success quiet from my family. Publicly, I posted vague updates, grateful for opportunities, or excited for new projects. I didn't want them watching, waiting for me to fail. I didn't need their pity. Nights were the hardest, the silence, the ache of missing what I once called home. But every morning, as I sipped coffee and stared out at the city skyline, I reminded myself I was building more than a business. I was building my own life, one they couldn't touch, one they couldn't claim. And deep down, that little girl in me, trembling, rejected, and furious, smiled quietly. Because finally, I was earning. For myself. The day finally arrived. I had received the attorney's confirmation that my father's will reading would bring the entire family together. They expected to see the struggling girl they once dismissed, the one who left home with trembling hands and empty pockets. They didn't expect this. The gala was in my company's headquarters, a refurbished historic building, walls adorned with abstract art I had carefully collected, floors polished to a reflective shine, and crystal chandeliers casting light across tables set with delicate silverware. The air smelled faintly of jasmine and success. As the elevator doors opened, I saw them. Claire's mouth fell open the second she stepped into the main hall. Ethan and Mark froze, their eyes scanning the room as if it were a dream they hadn't imagined. I wore a tailored navy suit, hair sleek, heels clicking on the marble, holding a glass of sparkling water. For a moment, I let them take it all in, the modern sculptures, the awards on the walls, the banners that read Lena Walker Enterprises. Innovation in every step. Finally, I approached, smiling softly. "Hi." Claire's voice trembled. "Lena, this can't be yours." I tilted my head, calm and unapologetic. "Everything here? All mine. Every contract, every office, every penny. I earned it. For myself." Ethan's jaw tightened. "You, how?" I gestured toward the room, toward the life I had painstakingly built. "You thought I would fail. You thought I'd come crawling back. But I didn't. I used every ounce of rejection, every sneer, and every doubt you threw at me, and I built something you can't even imagine." Mark swallowed hard. "But, Dad." I let the words hang in the air. My father's smirk echoed in my mind. "Go earn for yourself." Claire's hands shook as she gripped her clutch. You're like a business genius." I smiled, soft but firm. "I'm just a woman who refused to accept what I was told I couldn't have. You thought I needed your approval. I didn't. And now, I don't need anything from you, except maybe your respect." The room was silent. My siblings' eyes were wide, Claire's mouth slightly open. They were witnessing the culmination of years of determination, sweat, and late-night tears. And in that silence, I realized I was no longer the girl who had walked out of my father's study. I was Lena Walker, unstoppable, undeniable, and completely my own. I could have let the shock linger. I could have walked away, letting them choke on their disbelief. But that wasn't my style. Power, I had learned, was most potent when wielded with precision and intention, not anger. I gestured toward the long, polished conference table. "Sit," I said, calm but firm. "We have much to discuss." Claire hesitated, then sank into a chair. Ethan and Mark exchanged wary glances before reluctantly joining her. "Here's the truth," I began, placing my hands on the table. "I'm in charge now. I own the company. The contracts, the offices, the profits, all of it. But I'm not cruel. I believe in growth, in second chances. And I believe in setting conditions. For everyone." I looked at Claire first. "You will fund the women's shelter in Queens. Every dollar. And I want it active within 6 months. Not for your image, but to make a real difference." Her lips pressed into a thin line, but she nodded. Then I turned to my brothers. "Ethan, Mark, you'll work here. Entry level. No shortcuts, no titles. Learn a company, earn your place honestly. You'll each be supervised directly by my team. If you prove yourselves, great. If not, well, at least you'll know what hard work means. Ethan's jaw clenched, Mark's face flushed with shame. I let them sit with that. Silence can be more powerful than a lecture. Finally, I addressed the elephant in the room, my father. He was gone now, but his legacy lingered in their expectations. I whispered to the room, almost to myself. He told me to earn for myself. I did. Now I'm offering you the chance to learn, not for me, but for yourselves. I saw understanding flicker in their eyes. Relief mixed with guilt. It wasn't revenge I sought. It was balance. Growth. Recognition of what had been denied for far too long. I could feel the weight of years lifting off my shoulders. My grandmother's locket pressed against my chest, a tiny reminder that this was never about approval. It was about dignity, about proving to myself that I could rise higher than anyone ever imagined. I stood, towering over the table with grace, letting the authority in my stance speak louder than any words. Change starts now. Meet these conditions. Do the work. And maybe, just maybe, we can rebuild something worth having together. And with that, I let them absorb the magnitude of what I had just given them, the chance to step into accountability while I remained firmly in control of my own life. Months passed, and change came quietly at first. Ethan and Mark showed up on time, completed tasks diligently, and slowly began to respect the structure I had built. Claire started volunteering at the shelter, her smile less forced, more genuine. It wasn't instant redemption, no one deserves that, but it was progress. I often caught myself pausing in my office, looking out over the city skyline, and feeling the weight of those early years lift a little more each day. The girl who had walked out of my father's mansion, trembling and uncertain, had grown into a woman who knew her worth. And not because anyone had told her she was valuable, because she had fought for it herself. The locket my grandmother had given me hung around my neck, warm against my chest. I touched it gently, remembering her words. Your worth isn't in their approval. That phrase had guided me through sleepless nights, through failures and triumphs alike, and now it felt like a bridge between the girl I once was and the woman I had become. There was pride in knowing I had achieved everything on my own terms. But more than pride, there was peace. I had created a life where respect and love were earned honestly, where success wasn't a weapon but a testament to persistence and integrity. And finally, in the quiet of my office, I whispered to the city below, to the girl in me who had once felt powerless. He told me to earn for myself. I did. But what I truly earned was me. And for the first time in years, I believed it completely.